Hello again, and welcome to High Holiday Happenings video number 8. In this segment, we will focus briefly on the Avinu Malkenu prayer. There are many cherished recordings of cantors singing Avinu Malkenu. Yet, to me, Barbara Streisand's rendition is among the most memorable. When she sings Avinu Malkenu, which contemporary language translates as our parent and sovereign, when she sings Avinu Malkenu, I believe even the angels weep. Such is the power, the humility, the reverence reflected in these two Hebrew words, Avinu Malkenu, as well as all of the verses which comprise the prayer. Avinu Malkenu was originally a soulful plea for material blessings, and it was expanded. The verses, there was an increase, an expansion of the verses, focusing more on our request, our plea, our hope to overcome disasters and conflicts, whether they are from natural causes or of human origin. In the Avinu Malkenu, we combine two specific images. Avinu, God as this compassionate parent who is filled with love for all creatures. And second, Malkenu, God as sovereign, as ruler, who is strict but fair in judgment. So we have the compassionate element and we have the judgmental or the strict element. The words Avinu Malkenu are so unique that many of the High Holiday prayer books do not even translate them. I could translate Avinu Malkenu as our parent, our sovereign. The traditional version was our father, our king, but again, trying to be gender sensitive, gender neutral. Avinu Malkenu cannot really be translated. It's one of those phrases very difficult to effectively translate into any other language, and so therefore, often when we do a responsive reading, we say Avinu Malkenu. We use the Hebrew terms. It is customary in this prayer for 8 verses to be humbly and reverently chanted by the prayer leader, and then those 8 verses are repeated by the entire community. In these 8 verses, we ask that God inscribe us in the book of life for various reasons. The idea of being inscribed is a theme throughout all of the different Avinu Malkenu prayers, except for the very last one during the Ne'ilah service on Yom Kippur, when instead of being asking to be written, we ask to be inscribed. But on Rosh Hashanah, we ask to be written in this mythical book of life for good, for redemption, for sustenance, yes, to be able to earn a good living. There are various prayers and rituals in which we ask to make a good living, because you don't make a good living, it's very difficult to focus on any of these other spiritual matters. And also we ask for forgiveness. In Avinu Malkenu, one of the verses of Avinu Malkenu, we ask or we're reminded about all of those who might be sick and ill and need our prayers to either sustain them or need our prayers, at least in the acknowledgement of their hopefully temporary suffering. Several verses of Avinu Malkenu refer to God giving strength to us, enabling us to overcome and survive adversaries. Remember that these poems were never written in a vacuum. They were written in the background of other kinds of conflict, and for Jews, certainly military confrontation and, unfortunately, persecution and oppression. And so, therefore, in many of the Avinu Malkenu prayers, we ask God for that strength to be able to endure this specific suffering, and that's been characteristic of Jews. We've always managed to overcome all of the obstacles we have faced throughout history. We express our hope in Avinu Malkenu also for freedom and for justice and for quality and a good life. And a good life is inclusive of all of these other ideas. Many of you know that at the conclusion of the Avinu Malkenu prayer, there's a melody that we sing. Avinu Malkenu. Think about taking an exam or being interviewed for a new job. At the end of that exam and at the end of the interview, we let out a big sigh, and there's an emotional display, emotional outlet, because it's not just the exam itself, but all of the preparation, the pressure leading up to taking this exam. The same thing with an interview. We often prepare ahead of time, and we're filled with a lot of anxiety, a lot of different kinds of emotion. And when the interview concludes, just like when an exam concludes, there's a big sigh of relief. Well, I think the end of Avinu Malkenu also expresses that kind of notion. We've just poured out our hearts, expressing our sentiments on a whole variety of issues: our physical freedom, our spiritual freedom, our hope for being able to make a good living, our hope on behalf of those who are sick. We're asking for strength under all kinds of duress and all kinds of challenging circumstances. So the end of Avinu Malkenu is there's a real emotional, a feeling of deep emotion. When I sing Avinu Malkenu, for example, that to me is my emotional high during the entire High Holiday service. Whatever else I might feel during the course of the services, I always feel a special emotion when singing Avinu Malkenu. This prayer is so filled with highly charged sentiments that we express both on behalf of ourselves as well as on behalf of our community. So it really is one of those most emotional and beautiful prayers, I think, in all of Jewish liturgy. And the Cantor Shmully Blesofsky.